In this episode, we are joined by Robyn, a seasoned business owner with nearly 2 decades of experience. Together, we'll dive into those common business anxieties that entrepreneurs may face and how to conquer them. Robyn, having successfully navigated these challenges, will share insights and personal stories and strategies to help you overcome these fears and thrive in your business. Hello and welcome to the Growth Concept Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Keone Upton, where our mission is to build a community centered around growth and transformation. I'll do this by bringing experts to you all in one place so you can learn and pick up lessons and apply to your life. That's enough talking from me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hello and welcome, Robyn, to the Growth Concept Podcast. Thank you very much for coming on this show to share your experience and guidance for young individuals that may want to start their business at some stage down the line in their life. So, Robyn, to start this interview off, tell us, what do you do and why do you do it?
I am a remedial massage therapist. I trained in that early 2000s. I had just had my 2 sons and I'd been working as an office manager before I had the children, and it was 60 hours a week minimum. And I thought, after I'd had the boys, I thought there's no way I can go back to doing that and manage 2 children. So I thought, what can I do that is different? And the thing that I was attracted to was I didn't trust doctors. So I looked for something in the natural field, and I saw an ad. In those days, there was actually a newspaper, and I saw an ad in the Sunday Times that said, "You, a natural therapist, yes, you can be." And I thought, yeah, I can be. So I went and did a introductory lesson at the college, loved it, signed up that night, and I started my course to become a naturopath.
Tell us about, what college was this? Was it something to do with uni or was it a community event?
No, it was actually a registered training organisation. It's still going today, but they've changed names since I studied there. They used to be the Australian Institute of Holistic Medicine, but they've changed their name now and I'm not sure what it is. Something like the Australian Institute of Higher Education, something like that. And so they're still going, they still train naturopaths, and I think they still train remedial massage therapists.
So you're a remedial massage therapist?
Yeah, so but that wasn't what I set out to do. I was going to be a naturopath.
Naturopath?
Yeah.
How come you chose that avenue?
Well, the naturopath was the anti-doctors thing, right?
Yeah.
But my second semester, I had to do a unit in remedial massage, or in Swedish massage, actually. And I was very cross. I went to the dean and I said, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to be touching people's bodies. I want to just talk to them and I'm going to give them herbs and they're going to be well. And he said, Robyn, it's 1 unit. Do the 1 unit and then you'll be finished with massage. So I did, and I loved it. I just loved it. And for one of the assignments, you had to do 10 massages on people in your family and friends. Every person I gave a massage to said, Robyn, you're great at this.
Wow.
You should do this more. So I went back to my lecturers and they said, you've got something, go for it. So I'd never finished my naturopathy and I changed my course to remedial massage. So you never know what might come up from...
Definitely, we're trying new things.
Yeah.
Was that one thing that you tried, was that like the first thing in that unit that you tried and you pursued that straight away, or was there lots of other units that may have not sparked your interest?
Oh, I was very frightened of anatomy and physiology. That frightened me. I had never finished high school.
Yep.
I left high school at the end of year 11. So I was really frightened of anatomy and physiology. So that frightened me. And again, there was another unit that was further on in chemistry. And I thought, oh, there's no way I'll be able to do chemistry. As it turned out, every unit compounds against the one that you've just done. And so they do become easier. And you finally just think, I don't know what I was worried about.
Yeah, that's amazing, Robyn. So moving on to your business, tell us about that. So with starting this unit, how did starting your business come into that?
It was a few years later while I was studying, actually, I started working.
Yep.
I was working for a company and we were doing corporate massage. So we ran up the terrace with our chairs on our shoulders and we changed from one office to the next over the day.
Was this in Perth?
Yeah, in Perth.
Wow.
We gave people massages in a little room in offices and they still had their clothes on. It's really hard work. But I loved it. So I worked for them for a while and then they said, come and work in our clinic. We've got a clinic in Swanbourne. So I worked there for about almost a year. And then an opportunity came up. One of the girls that I studied with had a room and some clients, but she'd hurt her shoulder and couldn't work anymore. And she rang me and she said, Robyn, would you like to take my clients in my room? And I said, well, twist my rubber arm. And that was the end of it. I was in a clinic with other natural therapists.
Yep.
And they would only let me have it for 20 hours a week and I needed it more than that.
Yeah, wow. So you're trying to build this business, but you only have 20 hours a week to do it.
Yes.
Do you find that, because you were saying with having kids, it was hard to balance family life, trying to start this business and grow this business with only 20 hours a week? I imagine there'd be lots of preparation behind the scenes. Can you tell us about the process of your average week back then?
Oh, very difficult. My kids were still quite young.
Yep.
They were only maybe 6 and 7. They just started. One was at kindy, I think, and one was at year 1. So I had to make sure my appointments were around school hours so I could drop them at school and go and pick them up from school. Then when you get home, it's not just do the housework and do the cooking. It's wash the towels from the clinic. And then get them dry, fold them up, put them back in the clinic. So there was lots of extra work on top of being a mum.
When you started your business, did you find that you needed essential skills? Do you mind telling us what skills you needed?
Yeah, sure. I was very lucky that part of our course was a whole unit on business studies.
Yep.
And it told us all the things, we taught us all the things about starting your own business and what you needed to do, how to present a business plan to the bank if you needed to go and get money.
Yep.
I was very blessed that I didn't need to do that. But if you needed to do that, that was good basic skills that you needed to understand. You also needed to understand how to negotiate with people. Like I was negotiating a lease and to try and work out a win-win situation for them as well as me. So you have to have a lot of skills that don't always come naturally. So look for those sort of skills wherever you can. Usually if you're doing a course where you potentially might start your own business, they will have a business unit in it. But if they haven't, it's essential to find that somewhere. Yeah.
So with your business unit that you studied, you spoke about the strategy. Was there anything else that were highlighted in this course? You said something about negotiating. Was this all in that course, or did you need to pick up other things after this course that you needed to adapt to?
Oh, of course, yeah. I didn't have those negotiation skills. I learnt those at an organisation called Toastmasters, which I think you might know a little bit about, Keone. And those skills came much later. I remember the first time I negotiated my lease, I definitely lost out. But by the time those 3 years were up and I came to the next lease, I'd done a little bit of Toastmasters and I did some more negotiating and I got a better deal for myself. So I really had to learn how to deal with other people, how to make what I was offering them sound good for them as well as me.
It goes into that negotiating skill.
Yeah.
What would be a couple of things to consider with negotiating with someone? Because obviously you got to have the win-win agreement.
Oh, well, you see, in commercial, I've now moved into a clinic of my own after they wouldn't let me have more than 20 hours. So that lease is the one I'm talking about now.
Yep.
And the commercial leases are crazy, man, because the owner wins all the time, just about. But they put crazy things in, like $70 a week to take the rubbish away from out the back. Now, in my clinic, I have a little bag of rubbish about this big once a week. So to take that and put that in the bin is just crazy.
Is that an extra cost on top?
On top of your lease.
What?
Yeah,
right.
So little things like that, I had to say, look, I'm never going to use that bin. So maybe you could drop it down a little bit and at least take that $70 off a week. So those are the things you have to think about. What are you going to use? What are you not going to use? How can you give them some benefit as well as yourself, because obviously if they've got less rubbish to be picked up by their rubbish man, they're going to pay less to him.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've got to look for those little things.
Because they all add up. So with the skills you've laid out, such as negotiating, your business course that you attended, did you needed to pick up other skills that you may have not been taught during this training that you needed to adapt quickly?
Yeah, once I started, I got quite big and I started to get more clients than I could handle. I had to put some contractors on. I never ever put staff on. I used contractors because I didn't want to worry about tax and all that sort of thing. They could do their own tax. That was my thinking. So I always would have to negotiate with them as well. You'd have to negotiate pay rates. You'd have to negotiate how many hours a week you wanted them to work and they wanted to work. There was that sort of thing. There was lots of other skills where you have to you have to walk your talk. You have to be what you say you are.
Definitely.
Yeah. And even with clients, with customers, you have to be able to tell them what you want them to do when they leave your clinic after they've had their massage, because it's a two-way street. It's not always just me. I can't fix everything. That they have to put their part into it as well.
So with these skills that you had to learn, adapt and change, was it an immediate result you saw, or was it over great periods of time?
Oh, at least over a couple of years. You get better the more you do it.
Yep.
So my recommendation to everybody is just keep doing it. Start doing it and keep doing it. And if you fluff it the first few times, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Usually, unless it's a loan from the bank or something. But if it's something that's small like that, just keep doing it and keep practicing. You get better every time. As long as you can look back and think about, how did that go? Was there something I said that I could have changed? Always looking back on what you've done.
For the younger individuals looking to start a business at the same point during their life, with the knowledge you have now, what skills would you recommend that they learn, take on board, take a potential course?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they've got to do some kind of business studies, and it doesn't have to be in Cert 4 in business studies or anything like that. It just needs to be the basics. Learn about how to put together a business plan, how to present that to the bank, how to negotiate a lease.
And is this all in that business course that you may do in TAFE or something?
Most of that was in mine that I did at my college. You probably would find them at TAFE. You'd definitely find them at unis, but you don't have to do a whole degree at uni. Definitely. You could just do a few units.
So those younger individuals look into a potential course to learn about your business strategy.
Oh, yeah. I think that's essential. The other thing I think you've got to look for is, if you're going to start a business, it's got to be something you're passionate about.
Yep.
If you're not passionate about it, people will pick it up in a second and it won't work. So make sure whatever you start is something you're passionate 100%.
About. So let's talk about your business strategy. What are some general things you would say you got to consider in a general business strategy? Would it be, obviously, you got to know your market. What are a few other things you got to consider?
Well, you've got to know your competition. So where are you going to set up? What's around there? Is there other people doing the exact same thing? If there is, it's probably not a good idea. Yeah. You're probably better to find somewhere a little bit different. But do your market research, do your research into who's around you. Maybe even do a door-to-door knock and find out, if we were to open this business in this area, would you consider using us?
Yeah, that's a strategy I've not thought of before.
Yeah, it's a good strategy if you're in an area that's got residential houses around and you're something that you want those people to come to.
Even links back to that skills of that communication, how important that is.
Yeah. And look, you're going to fluff it at doors a lot to begin with.
Is that something you did?
No, I've never done that, but I know people that have.
Moving into the fears of starting a business, because this would have been a big step for you, I can imagine, for anyone.
Yeah.
What were a couple of fears that you encountered?
Absolutely. You have a lot. Well, obviously, money is the big one. If I'm going to put up this money and I had to sign a 8-year lease, the second lease. And if you're putting that much on the line, you have to make sure you're going to make the money to cover it. So that was always a big fear. How much am I going to make out of this? So that's where your business plan comes in. You work out how many for me, it was how many massages a day could I do? How many could I do a week? If I put on a second person, how many could they do? And just work out, is this going to cover the costs? Because once you've covered the costs, then you're looking okay, because you can probably say it'll take a little while to be making a big profit.
Tell us a bit more about that, because with this fear of, should I sign this paper? It's 8 years.
8 years.
Tell us about a couple of thoughts that were going through your head and how you overcame them.
Well, I think because I was so passionate about the business and I'd had that feedback from people telling me that I was good at what I did, I thought I just got to give it a go. And if all else fails, I'll sublease the room out and somebody else can use it and it'll be okay. So I think I just trusted in myself more than anything.
A lot of confidence and self-belief as such.
Yeah. And you have to have that, because if you don't have that, you might as well not even open up.
Definitely. Did you go through a time where, you opened the store, but confidence and self-belief were lacking at some stage? Did you have any times?
I think they probably did inside, but I'm a very good faker.
Yep.
So
fake it till you make it, like you say.
Fake it till I make it is my favourite saying, and I try to do that in everything. I mean, you think when you come out of college that you are the best massage therapist in the world, and very quickly you work out you're not.
You get humbled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I tried to do that, fake that to my clients, even as the first few clients that came in the door. I had to say, I'm really good at this. I'd done 200 hours in a student clinic. I knew exactly what I was doing. Not.
Did you find there was much psychological barriers with saying stuff like that? Did you end up saying stuff and being like, I shouldn't have said that?
Yeah. There was times I said it. I remember when I was still studying and I was doing some corporate massage, and I told one of the ladies that I was massaging that I hadn't completed my studies yet. Well, she lost it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, rang my boss and told them off. I don't want to be massaged by someone who's not fully qualified. I only had the business unit to do, and I told her that, but she lost it anyway.
Oh, no.
So, there are lots of times where you realise after you've said it, wish I could bite my tongue off. But that's all part of the learning process.
So with having these fears, we spoke about the fears of that finance, competition and self-doubt. Was there any other fears that you had? Was it obviously being surrounded by friends, family? Did they kind of be like, hey, what you doing? Did that ever cross your mind?
No, my family actually were pretty supportive. They were really good. And my parents had always been in business. So I had been around business all my life, and it just sort of came a bit natural to me. I can understand that sometimes people that have never been around a business might find it very difficult. But for me, it was pretty easy. My dad was very, very strict at how we treated customers.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, we had to be courteous. We had to be on our best behaviour, have good manners, all those things that Dad was very strict with in his business, and I worked in his business as a kid. So I just did all those things automatically.
Did you have any friends in business as well?
Well, a lot of the people that I studied with went into business as well. Do you know, it's funny, nearly 20 years later, there's only me left, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody
Congratulations,
else.
that's
Thank
absolutely
you.
amazing.
Yeah, of that class. There was 18 of us started. There was only 6 of us that qualified at that time. Some may have gone on and qualified later. Of those 6, I think I'm the only one left.
Yeah, wow. Did you find being in an environment where people were wanting to start their own business, wanting to do all this, having their goals and priorities in order, did that help drive you even further?
Oh, yeah, it's great to have that community that you can bounce ideas off. And we would talk about where we would set up, how we would set up, what colour we would have in our clinic, all those sort of things.
Yeah, wow.
Having that community is great. You can bounce off other people and get their input, and I think, oh, no, I don't want to do that, or, oh, that's a great idea, I'm going to steal that.
What would be your advice for someone who doesn't quite have that community yet, or are looking for their next group of people to network with if they're wanting to start a business?
I think go and talk to people in the industry that you want to go into. So find people either in that same business around you. Find a place where they network, because often the industry will have networking evenings, and you can go look for those and go along to them, talk to the people. How did you start? What did you do? What were the mistakes you made that I can avoid? That's what I would try and do. I would find a community.
Yeah, definitely.
I was very lucky because in my college there was that community, but sometimes you don't have that, I guess. And particularly if you're doing, wanting to start a business that hasn't got a training course and you're just starting it off from scratch, find some other people that do this.
It's all that surrounding yourself by the top 5. Yeah, I'm sure we've all heard.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So with talking about your startup phase, did you find any challenges with this startup phase or even that growing phase? Tell us a couple of stories that really challenged this phase of your business.
Once I signed that lease for my own clinic, it was a blank canvas. Truly, it was just a square room or square rectangle room. And I had to put the walls in. There was no water even in my unit. So I had to run the water in, and all those things cost money.
Yeah.
And that's before you can start earning any money, right? So those sort of things were a real challenge for me, and getting that worked out. I was really lucky. One of my clients' husband was a
wall artist or something, or painter.
He puts the walls up.
A gyprocker.
Gyprocker, yeah. He put the walls up for me and obviously gave me a bargain price because he was one of my clients. Yeah. And so I was able to negotiate those sort of things as well, which made it a little bit easier, but they were still challenges. And just getting yourself set up to begin with. You know, I had to go and buy towels, and you have to have enough towels for, if you've got 2 people working, 12 massages a day perhaps. 5 towels every massage. That's a lot of towels, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and you want those good quality fabrics.
Yeah. You have to have good quality because people want to come and have good quality underneath them. And then in the winter, you've got to have a electric blanket to keep them warm. All sorts of things that you learn over the years. When I first started, I didn't have an electric blanket.
Yeah. What other challenges did you come across when you were established?
Well, of course, building up your clientele. That's the big one, is you have to work out how you're going to build up your clientele. I was very lucky. Like I said, I got given a list of clients. And to this day, now that was almost 20 years ago, and to this day I've still got 3 of those clients that come to me. But I probably was given a list of about 50 names, I'd say, and maybe 12 of them came to me to begin with. So then I had to get new clients. So advertising was a big one. I've never advertised as in on big radios or anything like that. I did a letter drop around my area. That was all I ever did. And I'm very lucky that I'm in a great place where people walk between a medical centre and an IGA and they have to walk past my clinic. So I get a lot of walk pasts that come in. But building that up, so having a sign outside that drew people's attention to this unit that had been empty before I was in there. So people had been used to just walking past. So I now had to grab their attention. So grabbing people's attention, building your clientele was a big challenge. And, you know, you struggle for a little while. But
did you find word of mouth started to spread very quickly?
Yes, yeah. That was my biggest advertiser, was word of mouth. It still is.
Just having that reputation.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Robyn, for sharing a couple of your fears and how you overcome these fears. I got one last question for you.
Yeah, sure.
If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, would you do anything differently with the knowledge you have now?
My 18-year-old self, probably no, because at 18, I wasn't ready for this. But you never think you're ready. So if I went back to my 30-year-old self, I would say, you're never going to feel like you're ready, so just take the first step and just do it. But the important thing is to find what you're passionate about. If you find that, find something you love, it'll be easy. You'll be able to do it. And just take that first step, because once you've taken that first step, you can see the next step.
Yep.
But often people are too scared to even start. So, and I was like that. It took me probably more years than it should have to go into business.
What would your advice be with helping to overcome that fear of that first step?
Definitely self-talk.
Self-talk.
Yeah, I learned that I did a lot of self-training, and I learned that from one very, very early. And he said, if whatever you say to yourself, you will believe. So if you tell yourself you're no good, you will be no good.
Yep.
If you tell yourself you're flipping awesome, you will be flipping awesome.
Definitely.
So talk to yourself really highly, be confident in what you can do, and eventually you believe it, because it's all about believing what you're saying. So just keep saying it. Put sayings on the mirror in the bathroom while you're cleaning your teeth that say, I am amazing at what I do.
Yeah, it may sound a bit quirky or something, but when you say it enough times, you will believe it.
You certainly do.
I feel that.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Everyone should apply that to their life.
Absolutely, yeah. And I learnt that years ago. And I learnt about putting together my goals and what I wanted to achieve and what I wanted to be doing by certain ages. And that, I think that's really important. People need to do a lot of self-development.
Yeah, very important to have that pathway somewhat mapped out. That way you can kind of see
maps can be changed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And mine did. Mine was going to be a naturopath, and then it became a remedial massage therapist. So don't worry that you might not be on the right track, because you might just find a sidetrack that's even better. Just take a step.
With all that being said, do you have any advice or guidance for younger individuals on where they can go to find more information out? Is there any other places where someone can go to learn about starting a business, growing a business?
Yeah, I'm sure TAFE has loads of courses.
TAFE, yep.
But you could do some online courses. If you put it into a search engine, you will find loads of people out there that are training people just for those things, to go into business and to be good at it and to start off on the right foot. My biggest point I think I would like to make to everybody is, when you start business, don't try and go too big too soon. I've seen so many businesses fail because they want to go and they want to have the big flash room with all the diamonds and things like that, and they've spent loads of money and then they don't have
the foundation.
And they don't get that back. So trying to go too big too soon can be a big downfall and sometimes detrimental to business. There's a reason that most small businesses fail within the first 5 years, and I reckon that's the biggest one.
Yeah, wow. That's a very, very important point. Thank you so much, Robyn, for coming onto the Growth Concept podcast to share your experience and wisdom for all young individuals out there.
Just go for it.
Just go for it.
Thanks,
Thank you,
mate.
Robyn. That wraps up this podcast episode on the Growth Concept. A big thank you to Robyn for sharing your valuable insights and your inspiring personal journey. If you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. I also challenge you to leave a review and share it with someone that might benefit from it as well. Until next time, keep growing and overcoming your fears. Thank you.